Last year, Burkina Faso became the country most impacted by terrorism, with nearly 2,000 deaths surpassing Afghanistan. This shift marks a significant move of global terrorism from the Middle East to the Sahel region. Deaths from terrorism in Burkina Faso have risen each year since 2014, when no deaths were recorded. Although most attacks are perpetrated by two main terrorist groups, many attacks and deaths are attributed to unknown jihadist groups, making Burkina Faso one of the countries with the highest rates of unclaimed terrorist violence globally. A friend of INcontext said that combating terrorism is very complicated. Although not all areas are affected, some areas are so unsafe that the military is always needed. He said the global church can pray for the government's decision-making and that another coup would be avoided. He also asked for prayers to sustain the Christians who have abandoned their faith because of the insecurity, and for this Sunday when all evangelical churches will fast and pray for peace in the country. Another friend of the ministry said despite it being hard to live in as Christians, they remain uncrushed. For the fifth year in a row, civilians were the main targets of terrorism in Burkina Faso. Both Christians and Muslims have been targeted by these Islamist groups. The reality on the ground, however, remains severe for believers. Converts from Islam face threats to renounce their faith in Jesus, especially where extremist attacks are common. Many have fled due to the instability, leaving churches empty. Father Pierre Ruamba said those who refuse to convert to Islam are left stranded in the forest, facing starvation and neglect. In some instances, women attempted to escape were subjected to abduction, rape, and slavery. Despite these terrible things, the FMC wanted to open a center in the capital to train and send out people to spread the message of Jesus in rural places and help those who hurt by violence, offering spiritual and psychological support. Father Ruamba also shared that many Christians who had drifted away from their faith before the crisis are now returning to Jesus despite the terrorists' efforts to suppress Christianity. Unable to gather in churches due to the danger, families are holding their gatherings at home. The persecution has strengthened their faith in Christ. Despite facing affliction, Christians in Burkina Faso are not crushed because they choose to place their trust in Jesus, finding solace and strength in Him alone.